A 19-year-old girl standing on the back of a wild war elephant is not what the emperors of ancient China expected when they marched south to conquer the edge of the known world. In the year 248, the mighty Eastern Wu dynasty ruled over vast territories, crushing any local resistance with brutal efficiency. Yet, in the rugged hills of what is now northern Vietnam, a young woman refused to submit to a life of quiet domesticity or imperial subjugation. She did not merely resist, she declared war on an empire, leaving behind a legacy that would echo through 18 centuries of Vietnamese identity. Who was this teenage rebel who chose the back of a raging beast over the safety of a household? And why does her battle cry still resonate today? To the Chinese occupiers, she was a terrifying anomaly, a force of nature they could neither understand nor easily defeat. To her people, she was a beacon of hope, a physical manifestation of their desire for freedom. The legends that grew around her would paint her as a giant with supernatural features, a woman 9 feet tall, with a voice like a temple bell. But behind the mythical exaggerations lies the story of a real, flesh-and-blood teenager who faced down the most powerful military machine of her era. This is the story of Ba Trieu, often called the Vietnamese Joan of Arc, though she rode into battle 1,000 years before the French heroine was even born. Her struggle was not just for territory, but for the survival of her people's culture, freedom, and dignity. In an era when women were expected to be silent and submissive, she chose to ride the storm. She carved her name into history not with a pen, but with a sword, leading thousands of warriors into the jaws of an imperial giant. As we peel back the layers of myth and history, we find a story of extraordinary courage, tactical brilliance, and an unyielding spirit that defines the very essence of Vietnam. Her story is a testament to the power of resistance, demonstrating how a single individual can ignite a flame of rebellion that burns through generations. By examining the historical records, we can separate the legendary tales of her physical stature from the documented reality of her military achievements, revealing a leader whose tactical acumen and charismatic authority united a fractured land against a common oppressor. To truly understand her defiance, we must look at the world of 3rd century Vietnam, then known under Chinese administration as Zhujian, part of the wider Jiaoqi province. The Han Dynasty had collapsed, giving way to the chaotic and bloody Three Kingdoms period. The state of Eastern Wu, led by the ambitious Sun Quan, controlled the southern territories. For the local Lac Viet and Ao Viet peoples, this was the second northern domination, a dark era of intense exploitation. The Wu rulers viewed the south not as a land of people, but as a treasure trove of resources to be stripped. They demanded heavy tributes of pearls, peacock feathers, elephant tusks, incense, and agricultural wealth, draining the local economy and forcing the population into dangerous labor. More than just economic exploitation, the Wu administration sought to systematically erase the local culture. They imposed Han cultural norms, strict administrative structures, and the patriarchal Confucianism of the North. This was a direct threat to the traditional indigenous social structures, where women held significant social, economic, and spiritual power. Local chieftains were replaced by Chinese officials, and any sign of dissent was met with immediate, brutal violence. This clash of civilizations created a pressure cooker of resentment. For decades, small, localized uprisings had flared up across the countryside, only to be ruthlessly extinguished by the superior military forces of the Wu. The people were desperate for a leader who could unite their fractured clans, transcend regional rivalries, and channel their collective anger into a cohesive military force. It was in this environment of cultural erasure, economic despair, and constant fear that the young trio Trinh grew up, witnessing the suffering of her family and neighbors, and quietly resolving that she would rather die on her feet than live on her knees. The Wu governors ruled with an iron fist, convinced that their military superiority would forever keep the southern population subjugated. They underestimated the deep-seated desire for self-determination that ran through the veins of the local people, a desire that was about to find its ultimate champion in a young woman from the mountains of Thanh Hoa. The economic burden of the tribute system was not merely a matter of taxation, it was a form of systemic violence that tore families apart, as men were sent into the deep jungles to hunt for elephants and rhinos, while others were forced to dive into the treacherous seas to harvest pearls for the imperial court in Jianye. The cultural imposition of Confucian ethics sought to relegate women to the innermost chambers of the home, stripping them of their traditional inheritance rights and leadership roles within the clan. It was against this totalizing system of oppression that the rebellion of Lady Trieu would emerge, not just as a political revolt, but as a defense of the indigenous way of life. The spark of rebellion ignited in the rugged, forested mountains of Ngan, located in modern-day Thanh Hoa province. At just 19 years old, Trieu Trinh fled her home after a violent confrontation with her abusive sister-in-law, seeking refuge in the wilderness. There, she began to gather an army. She did not recruit seasoned mercenaries. She inspired local peasants, hunters, and disaffected youths who had nothing left to lose under the oppressive Wu rule. Her brother, Trieu Quoc Dat, a respected local leader who held a minor administrative post under the Wu, tried to persuade her to abandon her dangerous path and accept a traditional marriage. It was then that she uttered the legendary words that would define her legacy. "I only want to ride the strong wind, tread the harsh waves, slay the killer whales of the eastern sea, drive out the Wu aggressors, reconquer the fatherland, undo the yoke of slavery, and never bend my back to be the concubine of any man." Shamed and deeply inspired by her determination, her brother joined her cause, bringing his own followers and resources. Together, they established a mountain stronghold, training their recruits in the dense jungles, mastering ambush tactics, and preparing for an all-out assault against the occupying forces. She trained her soldiers in guerrilla warfare, utilizing the treacherous mountain terrain to offset the numerical superiority of the Chinese armies. As news of her rebellion spread, thousands of people from neighboring districts flocked to her banner, recognizing her not just as a military commander, but as a spiritual symbol of resistance. She was no longer just a runaway girl. She was the leader of a growing liberation movement. Her army grew from a small band of mountain rebels into a formidable force of over 10,000 warriors, all sworn to her command. She organized them into disciplined units, teaching them to move silently through the dense foliage and strike the Wu outposts with devastating precision. The mountains of Ngan became a fortress of freedom, a place where the imperial laws of the Wu held no power, and where the hope of a liberated homeland was kept alive by the fierce determination of a teenage commander. Her leadership style was collaborative yet authoritative. She listened to her captains, but made the final tactical decisions herself, earning the deep respect of seasoned male warriors who had never before served under a woman. She also established alliances with other local chieftains, weaving a network of resistance that spanned across several districts, preparing for the day they would march down from the highlands to reclaim their ancestral lands. By the year 248, the rebellion erupted into full-scale war. Lady Trieu led her forces down from the mountains, launching a series of lightning-fast assaults on Wu garrisons across Zhejiang. Clad in brilliant yellow robes, wearing golden armor, and riding atop a massive, three-tusked war elephant, she was a terrifying and awe-inspiring sight on the battlefield. Her presence alone demoralized the Wu soldiers, who had never encountered a female commander of such ferocity and tactical genius. She successfully captured several key cities and defeated multiple Wu armies sent to crush her. The Chinese chronicles of the time, such as the Zhao Qi, recorded her as a formidable adversary, describing her mythical physical attributes to explain away their military embarrassments. The rebellion grew so powerful that it threatened to sever the southern provinces from the Eastern Wu Empire entirely. In response, Sun Quan, the Wu emperor, realized that this was no ordinary peasant revolt. He dispatched his most ruthless and experienced general, Lu Yin, along with a massive expeditionary force of veterans and unlimited financial resources to pacify the south. Lu Yin did not rely solely on military force. He used bribes, political intrigue, and psychological warfare to divide the local clans, slowly isolating Lady Trieu's core army. He offered amnesty and high titles to local chieftains who abandoned the uprising, fracturing the fragile coalition that Lady Trieu had built. Despite her tactical brilliance and the fierce loyalty of her soldiers, the sheer weight of the Eastern Wu Empire began to crush the rebellion. The battles became increasingly desperate, fought in the muddy valleys and dense forests, where the Wu forces used their superior siege engines and disciplined infantry formations to wear down the rebel army. Lady Trieu fought at the front lines of every engagement, her yellow robe stained with the blood of her enemies, her voice rallying her retreating troops. But the strategic encirclement by Liu Yin's forces was tightening, cutting off her supply lines and isolating her army from the support of the local population. Liu Yin also employed a psychological campaign, spreading rumors of the invincibility of the Wu Empire and exploiting the patriarchal biases of some local elders who were uncomfortable with a young woman leading a war of independence. This combination of military pressure and political subversion began to take its toll, as one by one, the allied chieftains surrendered or retreated to their own territories, leaving Lady Trieu and her most loyal followers to face the full might of the imperial army alone. Yet, even as the odds turned overwhelmingly against her, she refused to negotiate or retreat, choosing to fight on to the bitter end. The final, desperate battles were fought near Mount Tung in Tanhua. Surrounded, outnumbered, and refusing to surrender to the Wu generals who sought to capture her alive as a trophy for the emperor, Lady Trieu made her final choice. In the year 248, at the age of just 23, she took her own life, preserving her honor and cementing her status as a martyr. The Wu forces celebrated their victory, believing they had finally pacified the southern border. However, though the rebellion was crushed, the spirit of Lady Trieu could not be extinguished. Her death did not mark the end of Vietnamese resistance. Instead, it transformed her into a legendary guardian spirit, a symbol of eternal defiance against foreign domination. The local people built a temple in her honor on Mount Tung, where they continued to worship her and seek her protection. Even the Chinese administrators who followed could not erase her memory. They were forced to acknowledge her influence, and subsequent Vietnamese dynasties officially recognized her as a noble deity. Her story was passed down through generations, inspiring future rebellions and serving as a reminder that the desire for independence could never be fully suppressed. She became a central figure in the Vietnamese pantheon of heroes, honored with temples, festivals, and poetry. Her famous quote about riding the strong wind and treading the harsh waves became a timeless metaphor for the Vietnamese spirit, resilient, unyielding, and fiercely independent in the face of overwhelming adversity. The temple dedicated to her on Mount Tung became a pilgrimage site, a physical sanctuary where her memory was kept alive through centuries of subsequent foreign occupations. Generations of Vietnamese fighters, from the Lai Dynasty to the Trinh Dynasty, would visit her shrine to pray for courage before marching into battle, believing that her warrior spirit still guarded the land and would aid those who fought for freedom. The physical defeat of her army was thus transformed into a spiritual victory, as her sacrifice became a powerful narrative of resistance that could not be conquered by military force. The Wu Empire eventually collapsed, as all empires do, but the memory of the young woman on the golden elephant remained intact, a permanent fixture of the national consciousness. Her life demonstrated that the ultimate measure of a struggle is not its immediate. Centuries later, historians and storytellers would compare Lady Trieu to Joan of Arc, the French national heroine who also led armies as a teenager and met a tragic end. But this comparison, while useful for global audiences, misses the unique cultural context of Lady Trieu's legacy. She lived more than 1,000 years before Joan of Arc, in a society that was fighting to preserve its very soul against cultural assimilation. Her rebellion was not just a military campaign. It was a profound assertion of indigenous identity and gender equality in the face of an encroaching patriarchal empire. In traditional Vietnamese culture, women held significant social and spiritual power, a reality that the Confucian Chinese administrators sought to dismantle. Lady Trieu's defiance proved that a woman could lead, fight, and die for her country with the same, if not greater, valor than any man. She became a central figure in the Vietnamese pantheon of heroes, honored with temples, festivals, and poetry. Her famous quote about riding the strong wind and treading the harsh waves became a timeless metaphor for the Vietnamese spirit, resilient, unyielding, and fiercely independent in the face of overwhelming adversity. This enduring legacy teaches us that physical defeat does not mean historical failure. Lady Trieu's rebellion may have been crushed in her lifetime, but her spirit laid the foundation for the eventual independence of Vietnam centuries later. It challenges the conventional, male-dominated narratives of ancient warfare, showing that female leadership was not a historical footnote, but a driving force in the survival of Vietnamese identity. Her story forces us to reconsider the role of women in ancient history, highlighting how they were often the primary defenders of cultural heritage and community sovereignty. By celebrating her, Vietnam celebrates a model of leadership that is courageous, principled, and deeply connected to the land and its people. This historical lesson is particularly relevant today, as we look back at the long arc of history and recognize that the most powerful empires are often brought down not by massive armies, but by the persistent, unyielding resistance of people who refuse to forget who they are. Lady Trieu's legacy is a reminder that culture is a battlefield, and that preserving one's identity is the most profound form of resistance. The story of Lady Trieu is a testament to the power of a single voice to challenge an empire and shape the identity of a nation for millennia. Her legacy reminds us that history is not just made by emperors and generals, but by those who refuse to bend their backs to injustice. If you found inspiration in the story of this ancient warrior queen, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and share it with others who appreciate the deep, untold stories of global history. What do you think is the most remarkable aspect of Lady Trieu's defiance compared to other historical figures like Joan of Arc? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and join us next time as we continue to explore the rich, dramatic, and inspiring history of Vietnam. Your support helps us bring these incredible historical narratives to a global audience, ensuring that the voices of heroes like Lady Trieu continue to be heard across the world. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss an episode of our journey through the fascinating history of Vietnam. By sharing this video, you help keep the memory of these ancient heroes alive, connecting their stories of courage with a modern world that still needs their inspiration. Thank you for watching. And remember, in the face of the storm, always choose to ride the wind. We want to thank our community of history enthusiasts who make these deep dives possible. Your comments, discussions, and shares are what keep this channel growing, allowing us to research and produce high-quality, historically accurate content about Vietnam's rich heritage. Let us know what historical period or figure you want us to cover next, and until then, keep exploring the stories that shaped our world.